Hey, what's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Cole Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. We've got less than a month to go until opening day, both for the Giants and around the league shortly thereafter. So we are counting down with spring training games coming through. This episode, very special. Harrison Bader will be joining later on. We have mailbag questions, we have updates from Scottsdale, and more. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Why Mancini's? What separates us from others? The Rest Easy Promise. That means a 365-night comfort guarantee, free next day delivery and old mattress removal, best price guarantee, and 0% financing for 60 months. You won't find this combination of benefits anywhere else. It's comfort, convenience, and confidence all rolled into one. Stop by or visit online at sleepworld.com. Okay, Alex. Less than a month to go until opening day. Before we get into opening day talk, though, I do want to do a quick, minor spring training schedule updates. Just that the Giants are 7-2 with their 2 losses coming in the game that was going on as we recorded our last episode and the one right after. So we'll take the L on that. That's on us for saying the Giants are undefeated as they were mid-game. But also wanted to clock that they absolutely walloped the Dodgers a few days ago on Friday.
They are, as of this moment, first in the Cactus League.
There we go.
So
Hang the banner.
7-2. Best run differential in the Cactus League as well. So you can hang 2 banners.
I get a lot of questions about how indicative is regular season success based on Cactus League success, or a Grapefruit League, I guess, as well. And it just seems like they're completely different animals. It's fun. It's fun that they win. It's fun that the games are exciting with them going ahead, but this wouldn't be the first time they were first in the Cactus League yet. Last year included, and we know how that ended.
Well, I'll go back to last year. They were 21-6. Outscored opponents by 57 runs, which was the best run differential in the Cactus League by far.
Yep.
Kansas City was second. They were 20-12. And then the Dodgers went 14-9. But yeah, I don't know that it's that indicative of too much. There's also, that we can have fun with it, but also that Dodger lineup that came over on Friday had like -7 regulars. They didn't even try. It used to be automatic that it's like you have to have 3 of your starters. It used to get a call from the league if you didn't have 3 of your starters. And I think it's loosened up, and maybe there's no restrictions during WBC years because a bunch of their guys left the team already. But they didn't even send over like a Will Smith to just like try to make it reasonable. So
hey, but we can say that, but Yamamoto was on the mound.
He
and
was.
They got to him.
You know what? Yamamoto counts. But this is just to say that a lot of times these Cactus League things are like I don't know that the Giants at home have been using their dudes for like 3 to 4 at bats a lot of times. So yeah, that's a lot of what happens in spring training. And then it'd be interesting. I'd like to look like maybe what is your record in the last 2 weeks of the Cactus League? And
that's probably much more
is any more interesting than but it almost doesn't matter at all. Like it's while you're talking here, I'll go back a few years, but yeah, it doesn't. Oh, no results in 2014. Come on, MLB.com. But yeah, it doesn't matter.
Is it the kind of thing where obviously they're trying to win in the sense that they'd like to win because they're competitive individuals, but a pitcher could go out there and just like focus on one pitch and not really care about giving up hits as much as just being on the mound and getting his four-seam fastball grooved.
2021 Giants were 11-12 in the Cactus League.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway,
so yeah, no indicative.
Yeah, it's guys are working on things. I think what's always interesting is like the young guys. You see guys and you go, oh, that's new, or like that guy looks like he's taking a step. But I will always, and we have a question in the mailbag about one of the guys who's broken out here, and we'll get to that. But I always remember Chris Marrero just hitting like 7 home runs, and it's like, what if the Giants have this like older guy who just broke out, and then within like a month, you're like, oh,
Chris who?
Never mind. So it is. And the other thing I think it's worth remembering is that most of the time, and not, we are going to like opening day roster project. So the Giants are a little bit different this year.
Mhm.
Most years, I think you could say like 24 of 26 spots are like locked up.
Yeah.
The first Cactus League game. Like they know who's on the team. This Giants team's a little bit different because of the bullpen mostly, but yeah, it's fun. I love going out there. I'm going back tomorrow. It's if you've never been and never done the spring training thing, I think you and I are both like
Got
that
it.
has to be a bucket list thing, but
Absolutely does.
and we will have fun with this, and I will set the stage for you if the Giants go 22-4 to just go crazy in 3 weeks.
They're gonna win it
Yeah,
all.
but almost does not matter at all.
Well, you started talking about roster projections, so let's slide right into that. Obviously, they came into spring training with a lot locked. Bullpen you
Yeah.
mentioned not, but a lot of places, if you look around the diamond, uh, starting position, 8 guys pretty set. So who do we have before we dive into the maybes, the complete question marks? Who are our locks?
Yeah, I looked up as we were kind of planning out this podcast, and it was March.
Yeah,
It
that came
was
out of nowhere.
I don't know about you. I was like, short month, make sure you paid the mortgage. Like, get you ready?
Yeah, yeah.
Came out of nowhere, but also all of a sudden, like, oh, we're 3.5 weeks away from opening day.
Very weird that we just have 1 month that's so much shorter than all the other months.
It
Not
is
a
very,
Giants talk
yeah.
topic, but February, what are we doing, buddy?
It always throws me off.
Yeah.
So but especially from a baseball standpoint, all of a sudden, because March, I feel like once you get to March, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
there's gonna be baseball games this month. So
Professional, meaningful baseball games will be played in this month.
actual baseball games. To your question about the roster, so at position player wise, I have 9 locks here going just around the diamond. Patrick Bailey, Devers, Arias, Adames, Chapman, Ramos, Bader, and Lee. Those are their starters. I think Casey Schmidt's going to be very involved with everything they do. He should feel very comfortable getting an apartment in San Francisco
Yes.
and being good to go. And then I put 2 guys here. It seems very, very likely, and that is Daniel Suzak, who has been the front runner because of his Rule 5 status, and I also think he got robbed of a homer the other day just by I don't know if you saw that one. If you
I saw the clip.
Yeah, middle of the day, that's one of those where to our previous whole discussion about Cactus League doesn't matter. The coaches are like, "Don't worry, Daniel. We know you
Yeah,
hit that one
that
out."
counts in
So,
the roster
yeah,
construction as a
good
home run.
swing. I haven't seen anything. I mean, some of the other guys, I think Haas has had a good camp, and certainly he brings experience, but I haven't seen anything yet that would make me think they're gonna give up the Rule 5 pick and all that comes with that. And then Christian Koss, I think, is just in a good spot with his versatility, and obviously spent the season in the big leagues last year, and I think he looks good physically. I wrote a story about him last week where he talked about kind of one talked about his tattoo. If you want to go get an answer to that,
I've seen the pictures of it. I would love to hear the answer to that.
An answer on that, you can go find the story. But mostly he talked about he had for the first time in his professional career got to go home in the off season and spend the whole off season just training. So I think he's in a good spot. Things can change here, and we'll see what the roster looks like. But that would leave very little wiggle room there. That's 11 guys. That probably leaves 2 spots. The big question is Eldridge.
Yeah, I was going to say, not having Eldridge on your seems very likely is that's a discussion to be had right here.
I'm doing this like NFL injury reports, like seems very likely to me is like 75% or whatever.
Okay.
They're like the questionable tag.
So that's what I was going to say. So Eldridge is questionable and Susak is probable.
Yeah, whatever the tags are here, I guess we have different sports too, but we're really crossing over. But I'm going to put Susak. I put him in like the 80-90% bucket here.
Okay.
I think Koss is pretty close to that. And Eldridge for me is more of a coin flip right now because I think he's playing a ton. He looks a lot better defensively. He has had some good moments at the plate this spring. I just still go back to like it would be really easy for them to make the case that, given everything else that's going on, that this guy probably needs to play for a few weeks in AAA. And I don't know if they will do that, but I think there are some people in the organization who just look at it and go, "You didn't play very much in AAA last year. got, 2 weeks in the big leagues. Let's see what happens at the end of camp, but I that's why I put him in the coin flip category as opposed to like, you know, you're like Casey Schmidt, go and find an apartment.
You think that argument would be made on the basis of for Bryce Eldridge's professional development, he needs more time to cook in AAA, or for the Giants' 2026 record and performance, they need him to not be in the mix for a few weeks?
I think you could do both. I think that
Mm-hmm.
the argument the Giants would make, and this would be coming straight from Buster and like Randy Wayne, would be he needs more time and needs to play every day and get, play first base every day. Devers looks good at first. He wants to play first. So it is something we've talked about a lot over the last since June when Devers got here. Like, is that the best? And I don't think there's a problem with Bryce being a DH, but I mean, it is kind of part of this too. Like, is that the
Yeah.
best way to develop him? Is him being a DH for the first quite a bit for the start of his career in the big leagues? So, and then the other thing is, I do think they could make the case. And again, I think Bryce is one of their better players, and you and I are both on like it'd just be fun. Like,
Yes.
I'd like to see him against the Yankees that first weekend. Probably wouldn't start against Max Fried, but I do think you could make that case when you look at it and go like, you could figure out the DH thing for a few weeks
Mm-hmm.
and get some other guys in here, and depending on some of the guys we'll talk about, if they want to take a longer look at them, you could figure that out. And so I think there's a case to be made. I really do think it's a coin flip still. Um, and that to me has been the biggest question of camp, and that's the biggest question of March, other than the bullpen. Like position player side, the biggest question for me is what ends up happening with Bryce Eldridge.
Okay, so if we're saying two spots, then I am pro Eldritch being on the opening day roster. You know that, but if he is out, that leaves us with what, two spots for outfielders?
Yeah, there's two spots left here after the guys I got to. And if you take Eldridge out of that, then I Gerard Encarnacion has not had a great spring. I still
Mm-hmm.
kind of feel like he's probably someone they want to take a look at. Um, they've stuck with him and stuck with him and stuck with him through some injuries and some bad luck and all that. And he really does kind of fill potentially a need on this roster. They're
Mm-hmm.
gonna, whether Bryce is on the team or not, they at some point are gonna need someone off the bench who can pop one late in the game. And maybe that ends up being Casey Schmidt, maybe Suzak. Certainly he's known for his bat. Like maybe that becomes part of it, but I think it would be hard to give up on Encarnacion at the end of March
Yeah.
and be like, okay, we're going with these other guys, and if that doesn't work out, like our bench is pretty light on power. Because it is the current construction I have here of Suzak, Schmidt, and Koss. Like that's not really a power hitting bench. So that's not
No.
really a who's going to hit the pinch hit home run against. Um, I don't know. Tanner Scott's not a great example because he had a bad year, but like that type comes up in the eighth inning. Like who do you send up there?
Yeah, otherwise you're just entirely relying on whoever was out for like load management or day off
Yeah,
that day.
and you're relying on your starters quite a bit, which they will do. They have this locked in lineup, but I mean, there's going to be matchups where they're going to need someone else out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of outfielders, this is obviously a big part of the discussion. I have this in our mailbag questions for later in this episode, but I'm just going to pull it up to the top because why not?
Mhm.
I get a lot of questions about the logistics of options. You and I talk about them just kind of like flippantly and blast right through it. But Tom says, you guys say Matos is out of options. Does that mean he has to start on the opening day roster or he'll be DFA'd slash traded? Or can he start in AAA? And if he is brought up, that is it.
Yeah, he needs to be on the opening day roster or he will be DFA'd.
Okay.
That is the old Joey Bart conversation that we had 2 years ago, I think, 2 years
Yeah.
ago, Joey. And just the fact that they put, sorry, Giant stock listeners to bring this up, but they put Tom Murphy in front of him and just kind of boxed themselves into that corner. And
Yep.
yeah, the guys who are out of options are Encarnacion, Matos, Ramos, which doesn't matter, but then Buto, Gage, and Sam Henches. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think matters as much either because he might start on a rehab assignment anyway. But the relievers and then Encarnacion and Matos, those are the guys who I think are in key spots here as they battle for position spots. And I will
Yeah.
say from the outfield mix too, like part of this I thought, Andrew Bagley made a good point in a story recently about Grant McRae and maybe the fit he has there. And
Mhm.
I think it's going to be a bit of a puzzle here. And so much of this hinges on what they do with Eldridge. But like, if you keep an Encarnacion, then, maybe McRae is a good fit there. Is your extra outfielder, someone who can defend at all three spots, he can run. He's getting a lot of time this spring. He's been around a lot. I think they want to take a look
Mhm.
at him, just given the athleticism. So Gilbert's in that mix, certainly. Who else? Oliva has played quite a bit. Jared Oliva, he stole 57 bases in the minors last year. He's the answer to the question you and I asked multiple times of how could you, this is a classic offseason question. Why would you let Weimer and Dean go after, trying to add
Yeah.
that outfield depth and losing
After
guys? Part of
adding
it
them.
was, yeah, they had Oliva in the bank is like a very similar type.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and
All
then the
right.
last guy I
Well,
just want to mention is Jesus Rodriguez, who has been moving all over the field, doing infield work, doing outfield work. He's a catcher, but he's doing a nice job of being like, hey, I might play into this at some point.
mhm.
If you can have that third catcher, it's always like the dream. Can you have that versatile third catcher? And um, maybe Suzak ends up being a pretty good power threat, and you want that third catcher. So I think Rodriguez has had a good spring as well.
I love a versatile catcher. I was a Blake Sable guy just for that reason. Now, if Eldridge does not make the team, which of these guys starts to become part of the DH conversation?
I think Encarnacion probably then, like,
Yeah.
and again, this kind of becomes a weird thing where you look specifically at like opening day too,
Hmm.
where you go like, who's going to face Max Fried? And
Yeah.
currently, I'd probably say Casey Schmidt, but um, you could make the
Casey Schmidt
argument.
as DH
Yeah,
or
I think
Casey
like
Schmidt at first base and Endeavors as DH?
I think Casey is DH like that first game,
Okay.
just to it's a weird one like that standalone Wednesday game, and that counts, and you want to get off to a good start. So I don't think you like throw some of the lefties out there just for the hell of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It counts. And it's on the extra big stage, being the
Big
only
stage,
game.
yeah.
All right. Well, that appears to be the everything outside of the pitching. What about pitching?
Well, the rotation set. I mean, Malley was the one guy who was a little bit behind, but
Hmm.
he threw over the weekend. They should be totally fine there. The bullpen, it's interesting. You and I have talked about it a ton, and when I actually go through it, I can kind of put together like 7 or 8 guys like that you'd feel like, yeah, that guy's probably in it.
Yeah.
But I think the locks are Ryan Walker, obviously, probably the closer at this point. Uh, Eric Miller, if healthy, we'll get to the health updates in a second here, but he's certainly a lock for whatever they do if healthy. And then, you look at like very likely Bivens, who sneakily was in the big leagues all of last year, and like
That's what I was going to say.
yeah,
Bivens seems like a lock on my side.
I think some of these guys are locks as
Yeah.
well. I just, you never know
Sure.
with relievers, and you never maybe Tony just decides that some of these young guys are my best guys and some of
Yeah.
these veterans. Sorry, but I think that guys who I would put pretty close are Bivens, Brubaker, who's more the long reliever type.
Hmm.
They didn't have to bring him back. They did tender him a contract. Buto, Gage, and then Tristan Beck just also seems like someone. When I looked at this group, and we've talked a lot about the young guys and what like a McDonald could be and what a Tidwell could be, I had to remind myself that usually at the end of camp, teams are like, we want the guys who have done this before.
Hmm.
And so a guy like Tristan Beck, who has pitched in the bullpen quite a bit and, has done everything right the last year and he's healthy. Guys like that, I think we should, not forget is we get caught up in like the Tidwell pitch number, like pitch
Yeah.
graphics and things like that. So,
And those are the guys who then they didn't make the opening day roster despite a stellar spring, are kind of, you know, star next to their name in April, May
yeah.
when help is needed.
Yeah. So it's great if maybe one of these guys will look so good. And McDonald for me and Tidwell, those guys maybe are those guys early on where you go, that guy has to be in the bullpen. And we think that guy can pitch leverage innings. Maybe they end up making that move with Birdsong in the next few weeks, although it
Mhm.
hasn't gone great for him. But it is, I think, one of these things. And the reason I like doing this exercise here on March 2nd is it is a reminder of like, you kind of go through and you're like, well, would they choose that guy over Tristan Beck, who's pitched a ton in the big leagues? Like,
Mhm.
I doubt it. So that's where I kind of got to, I mean, pretty quickly got to 7 here, where you
Yeah.
go, if these guys are healthy and nobody backslides this spring, you could probably put that group together pretty easily.
So one more on top of that, and then the starters, and we're set.
Yeah. And again, it's like you look at the young guys, and I keep thinking like McDonald's pitched well enough that he has to be on this team. But then I also kind of go like, well, Santos is throwing 100,
Yeah,
and they need that.
that's a
They could
weapon.
use that. Caleb Killian looks really good. He's back. He's thrown 98. Um, he's happy to be back here. So that's like kind of a high upside arm as well. So yeah, those two guys have stood out. And then the other thing I wanted to mention here as people start thinking about opening day roster is we talked about this on the last pod, I think, just when you go back to the schedule and how strange it is and playing
Yeah,
that Wednesday
opening
night.
day,
Yeah.
off day, opening second
Day.
day, third day, another off day.
I guess we should start saying opening night.
Yeah, there we go. Opening night, opening day, opening Saturday, and then you've got 2 off days there sprinkled
Yeah.
in. So yeah, the amount of rest the starting pitchers have, maybe who comes out on the roster is completely different.
Well, the other thing too is, do you want to go with 5 at the beginning of the year, or do you want to? I mean, honestly, you could go with 3 the first week. I don't
Yeah, you
know.
could.
It'd be a little tricky to do. You could throw one of these guys in the pen, but you could pretty comfortably go with 4 and
Mm-hmm.
figure something out with one of those spots and just be like, hey, we want to move Logan back into like his normal spot, and we'll have a full rotation after that. So I just think that's
I
worth remembering as people put together rosters, that a lot of those things come into play this time of year where you go like, hey, you don't actually need 5 starters the first time through the rotation. And
I kind of love that with how
yeah,
that first week shakes out.
I mean, is it like I think Malley will be fine, but like, is he just behind enough that you go like, let's slide you in the second time through? Or
Yeah.
do you go, Landon, we want to watch your innings this year, so let's slide you in the second time through?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's worth remembering.
Yeah. All right. Well, a lot of this could be dependent on health, obviously. So the last update from spring training, I think we need to do, you already mentioned this a little bit, is injury updates. Nothing catastrophic, nothing that seems like it's going to impact opening day. But what is the current health situation of the team?
Nothing catastrophic, but they are starting to have things pop up with Chapman.
Mm-hmm.
Devers has a tight hamstring. Bader has thumb contusion. The notable one, I think, is Drew Gilbert with a shoulder impingement. He's not going to throw for about 7 days. And that, to me, is just notable because I think Drew kind of needs to win a job this camp. Like, I think for a lot of reasons, but like he needs to go out and play well and needs to
Mm-hmm.
play. He's not a lock by any means for the opening day roster. So him missing some time here is, that might set him back a little bit. Eric Miller, I'm keeping an eye on. It's been lower back tightness. He's coming off a year where he missed the entire second half with injury. He says his elbow has felt good, but just kind of keeping an eye on it. We haven't seen him in really notable spots in live BP or anything like that. He's been sidelined, and they thought Miller and Henches were going to be their 2 top lefties, and neither one of Henches is behind as well, so he's still
Yeah.
rehabbing. So just that one, I think I'm keeping an eye on. And then Piguero had hamstring tightness, and he's going to throw in a game next week. Some people probably thought he was a lock for the opening day roster. Again, like, there's a lot of guys with experience, and
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't pitched a lot the last couple of weeks, hasn't been on a mound. So
Yeah.
we'll see what he looks like when he gets back out there.
All right. So nothing major, but things are creeping up. I guess the only other injury I heard about was the food truck in the outfield that
Yeah,
got dinged.
tough time. By the way, Giants people who are listening, we need an answer. Like, are we doing what was it, the food cart that was out there in left center?
Oh, yeah.
That I was thinking about that the other day. I was just randomly thinking about those potatoes.
We'll find out. We'll find out
Yeah,
at Media Day. And Alex, remember that place does have a brick and mortar location. If you and I just want to go on a
we could.
guy's date to get
I guess we could just meet in person sometime.
yeah, we could. All right. Before we head into the mailbag questions and your interview with Harrison Bader, take a look around the league. Former friends, former rumored Giants. The first one is Max Scherzer, finally signing with the Blue Jays. I think logically the place with the most sense for him to end up. So all of those fun Tony Vitello rumors and jokes didn't pan out to be anything, but hey, maybe someday, maybe once Mad Max takes the cleats off, we'll get to see him get involved with the Giants and Tony in some way.
By the way, I think Tony made like 4 jokes about it in the last 3 weeks. So he was well aware of like everyone expects Max to be here.
We wanted it.
Yeah.
We wanted it. And then James Tibbs RBI'd off Robbie Ray on Friday. Not something we want to see happen often. Obviously, a surprising location he ended up in that trade web.
I think it was a reminder just to mentally prepare yourself for James Tibbs reaching the big leagues with the Dodgers.
Yes.
And we talk about him a lot, a fair amount, for someone who's gone, and I never even met him. But just a reminder, he's out there and they're sending him to Scottsdale Stadium.
How long was he even a Red Sox for? Was it like a week? No, it's like a month, right?
Yeah, like 6 weeks or something like that. So
yeah,
just an all-time, just, you got to tip your hat to the troll there.
Yeah, I know.
Dodgers.
We had fans ask if we could start including those no trade clauses in our trades. You can have Tibbs, but you cannot send him to the Dodgers.
Yeah. And for Dustin May too. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Boston.
I don't get it. All right. We've got mailbag questions, but first, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Mancini Sleep World offers high-quality mattresses for ultimate comfort and support, so you wake up energized and refreshed every morning. Plus, in addition to their Rest Easy promise, they have ongoing deals on top brands like Tempur-Pedic, starting at $29 a month, Avocado, Helix, and more. Rest easy at Mancini Sleep World. Stop by or visit online at sleepworld.com. Okay, Alex, mailbag questions today. First one is from Brian. Brian says, any chance Barracoto finds himself in the big leagues sometime this year as outfield depth? Remember, he was a former catcher. How's his defense coming along?
He's the guy I mentioned earlier as kind of like the pop-up guy this spring.
I saw that grand slam off the Dodgers.
And he's had, he hit a home run early too. And Tony mentioned him as a guy that they've like kind of been intrigued by and wanted to get him into a game, and just they didn't get to do it like the first couple days. So he's had a good camp. It's been off the radar for a couple years, but there's power there, and I like the swagger we saw from him on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be very comfortable. Yeah, there's a chance. I mean, he reached AAA last year, only played 11 games there. So once you hit that level, you're always like right there, especially, team shuffle through outfielders, starting pitchers. I'll just be completely honest. He's been on a backfield most of camp. I haven't seen enough to be able to like give you a judgment anywhere defensively. But I do think he's opened some eyes. And an interesting thing with some of the young guys here is, like, this is a whole new staff, and this is a staff of people who are used to player development. And I asked Tony after he hit that first home run, like, how much are you kind of learning about some of these guys? And he goes, yeah, we're, a lot of times somebody will come up and we're like discussing them in the dugout. Like somebody's like, hey, this is this guy's known for this, and this. So these are the kind of guys he's used to. And these are the kind of guys they probably look at and see the power and go like, huh, Tennessee, we turned these guys into pretty good players. So I think just kind of interesting to watch guys like that who have popped up.
Yeah, that's a really interesting angle on it that I think is a fun way to frame it around this new manager and staff. Yeah, I like that a lot.
We talked about this in the offseason, like who are going to be the guys that Tony and his staff come in and go like, that guy's better than he has shown. And
the bones are there.
Yeah. Honestly, Grant McCray stands out to me as someone who, like, you watch him and you like, that guy should be a big leaguer. So who are they going to get more out of? We don't know yet, but it's worth remembering.
Walt asks, can Devers and Eldridge survive a full season of Chapman? This has been nagging at me for a while. In 2024, Lamont Wade Jr. injured his hamstring doing the splits to make a play on one of Chapman's best plays of the season. A season later, Dominic Smith suffers a season-ending hamstring injury, making a similar play. Neither Eldridge or Devers are natural athletic first basemen. In the case of Devers, he's owed $240 million plus, and injuries would hurt that investment. Eldridge is the team's prospect and supposed to be the future of the franchise. An injury to him would also have a negative impact. Are they better off signing an athletic first baseman and using Devers as a DH and Eldridge in the outfield?
Interesting question. I guess the thing is, a couple guys have gotten hurt on his low throws over the years.
Yeah, on Chapman making wacky defensive plays, whipping it to first, and the first baseman having to get athletic and acrobatic to catch it.
Feels like a fluke, but
yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I'll say a couple things on this because it brings up some good points. First of all, I think Devers is going to be pretty athletic over there at 1st. Like, I've watched him. We saw it last year. He didn't know where to put his feet last year. He didn't know what to do, like didn't know how to handle being around the bag last year. But the athleticism is there. It's maybe not there to be a good third baseman anymore, but it's there to be a good first baseman. Eldridge, I doubt will ever try to do the splits. It's just like,
and I don't think you need to as badly when you have a 7-foot wingspan.
It would take him so long to get into the splits. I don't think he probably has ever done the splits in his life. But the third thing I'll say is just, if you've never like gone to a game early and watched Matt Chapman or gone to spring training and watched him, go watch him throw. It's different. He has one of the best arms I've ever seen, and it's just incredibly different watching him in person. And any injuries that have happened have just been a fluke. Like, he's gonna more often than anybody in the big leagues get that throw chest high.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like, yes, it would be really nice to put Devers and Eldridge, two of the most important bats to this team, in locations that would keep them safe and padded. But that's not
multiple DH.
Yeah, like, if you had a luxury car, it's great to keep it in your garage so it doesn't get scratched, but that's not what you have the car for.
It'd be nice to not have to worry about Jung-Hoo Lee in the wall, but that's not
exactly. But we're not moving him to the infield because there's no walls.
Every time Elliot Ramos does one of those Superman dives, I worry about his labrum, but it's, it is part of it. It's a very safe position they have over there. But I do like the off the wall question.
Yes. Juan says, early in spring training, if they have a split spot squad game, what are the odds we see a Josuar sighting, even if just as a late game replacement?
We saw it. I hope Juan saw this.
We sat on this question a little too long.
Well, I think he sent it after the last one, or maybe, I don't know. But we saw him. We saw Gavin Colleen. Johnny Level's been up. I'm waiting for the at-bats, but I get it. Like, it's hard.
I think that might be what people mean as sighting.
Yeah. But no, I think it's cool, and it's not always automatic that you see these guys. Like, I don't remember seeing this many of them early on, and I'll ask when I go back. I wonder if this was, get each of them a day or two out there and just get comfortable and get to know big league life a little bit.
Yeah. John says, given we now have ABS, will regular season broadcasts display the live strike zone that we've gotten used to or not? I believe there was a big update on this, right?
Great question. I saw a story somewhere that they were not going to, and I
saw that same story.
I don't know. Have you talked to your dad about this?
I have not.
Okay. I have asked about this. I've been told that was not true. That the box is still going to be there. And it's my understanding that the main concern is just things being live everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this probably is like an MLB concern going back to like the Houston Astros, like that type of issue.
Okay.
Just, you could picture, you think that sounds crazy, but then you also think like, wait, they were banging trash drums in the.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, people will do everything they can. Like, it sounds crazy to put someone behind the plate and have them whistle or whatever, but we've seen teams do it. So there might have been buzzers involved at some point. There's still some debate over that.
There is.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard, I think the box is fine. It's just a matter of making sure that like everyone is delayed a little bit, which is the case almost everywhere anyway.
Yeah.
I do think some ballparks have seats that are like live, so they get the live feed, so maybe that would be an issue.
How do you feel about the strike zone overlay? Because I have been surprised to hear that there is a vocal section of the fan base who loathes it.
I like it because I think you just have to realize it's not 100%, but it's very close. And, one thing we will see is like that'll be a little bit different than, and maybe they'll calibrate over time. But I've always liked it. I think it is, if you watch a game without it, you all of a sudden are like, you feel like you're like you left your glasses somewhere. Like
100%. It's like taking away the first down line at a football game. It's like I don't know, what are we even shooting for here?
yeah, I'm pro ABS. I'm pro strike zone box.
Yeah.
I think people are like to find reasons to complain, and now the one I see is like, oh, pace of play. Well, we did all this to get pace of play, and I'm like, it doesn't. It's 15 seconds, and it's like even if it's like 8 times a game that they do this, it's 2 minutes, and I'm the first guy to raise my hand and go, let's get out of there early. But
I'm the opposite. Let's. I want my 3-hour games back.
You want to slow it down? Yeah.
I also think when I get out of there in under 2 hours, I'm furious.
Oh, I text you. I throw a parade, but but I'm at work, so
yeah, you're at work.
Technically, I also think there's a huge difference for me between everybody looking up at the scoreboard to see a close 3-2 pitch or whatever, and who was that Dodger guy who would stand for like 48 seconds and stare in at the plate like that? Or anybody who would do that. Like, there's a huge difference between watching a guy just stare at the plate for an extra minute and having calls be correct.
I was with some buddies and we were joking the other day about Nomar Garciaparra. Do you remember how long he took doing the glove routine every swing?
Grew up on it. It was cool the first time, and then after a while, you're like, okay, buddy.
Yeah, what are we doing? Your at bat took longer than a whole inning does now.
Yeah, we'll get there. It'll be good.
Yeah. All right. With that, you have Harrison Bader, one of the Giants' newest guys. First off, first impressions, it really seems like Giants fans are going to fall in love with this guy.
I think like the style of play is certainly something that's going to be a little bit different. Cutoff shirts also a little bit different. So
love it.
Popping them at the bottom. We talked a couple weeks ago. Have a bunch of interviews coming. If you missed it, had some of the young guys last week. Bader, Arias, Chapman, Webb, Vitello, Adames, bunch coming the next month. So if you're not subscribed, you know what to do.
Make sure you subscribe to Giants Talk wherever you listen to your podcasts. So with that, here's Alex with Harrison Bader.
All right, Harrison Bader, first of all, welcome to San Francisco. Welcome to Scottsdale. I want to take you back, way back. We don't see that many guys who grew up in New York City who become baseball players. What were the challenges of that for you growing up in the city and trying to, get to this point?
I feel like that's a great question to lead with, honestly. I think the biggest thing is just like the space. Working out indoors constantly during the winter where there wasn't any space to go outside, either due to snow, weather, or just lack of baseball fields. Then as you kind of progress into the spring seasons and then ultimately like in the summer, same issue. There's a lot of people with fewer baseball fields, so the time was very limited. And then, additionally, not to complain at all, but the fields aren't exactly like kept very well. So that's the main reason why I play the outfield, actually, is because I was genuinely scared of fielding ground balls. So,
well, you said that on your Zoom, and I was like, probably a lot of weird hops.
Yeah, terrible hops. Yeah. Just the fields they weren't maintained very well. So, I think just like the spacing thing. But I mean, in many ways, all of those like challenges ultimately became kind of the driving force behind being successful and ultimately getting out of New York City baseball. Because when we did get the opportunity to travel down south, when I was, in high school, I played for the New York Grays baseball organization, which is run by David Owens and still going very strong, still sending kids to school, still receiving plenty of scholarships so kids can use baseball kind of as a vehicle for their education. So when we did get to travel down south, mainly Marietta, Fort Myers, Jupiter, all these places, kind of these like perfect game hubs, we kind of felt like we were like unleashed onto these like gorgeous manicured fields and in the sun, and it was warm. So, in many ways, I guess the challenges which did exist, they really were, it turned out to be beneficial because as I kind of progressed, I remembered how difficult it was to kind of get my training in. So as challenging as it was, it was great. And I try to reiterate that to kids, in the inner city playing in New York, that it is difficult. And we have Instagram, we see kids on fields and everything right now, but, use this and remember this and use this as fuel to kind of propel yourself forward, because there are players who have, managed to escape, and I'm no different than anybody else. I'm not special. I just love to play and I love to work hard. So, yeah, I think that's kind of the New York City story about baseball.
And take you all the way then to now, where you hit free agency again, you get another shot at this. We know why you made so much sense for the Giants defensively there in center field. Why did they make sense for you?
Well, the biggest thing was opportunity for me. Everybody wants to talk about free agency contracts and money, and that's fine. I understand. But, in order to get more money and get more years under your belt and be effective, you need opportunity. You need to be on the field. You need to be on the field as often as possible. It's always been my goal to play as many innings in center field and get as many at-bats as possible in a given season. So for me, the Giants made perfect sense because of the opportunity. And I imagine that being, an intense role in center field where I'm playing a lot more than I have in the past. And, I've really been training for that my entire career. I think many organizations enjoy plugging and playing and platooning and whatnot, but, I'm going to continue to prove that I don't need to be platooned or plugged in or out. I can really hold it down in center field. And I think just receiving that opportunity here is great. So I'm just looking forward to proving that every single day and taking on that workload and being that centerpiece that the Giants are looking for. And it's going to, play the best of my ability as often as I can. So outside of the money and all that stuff that people love talking about free agency, having a landing spot for opportunity is most important.
I think you had reverse splits last year anyway, so they can't even platoon you if you didn't make it easy for them. So,
see,
it's not a great place usually for hitters in free agency, but you are pretty, like, when you get the ball in the air, it's pull side. It is a pretty fair ballpark, I think, for the most part. Did that play into it at all for a right-handed hitter that your home runs for the most part are going to be okay at Oracle anyway?
That didn't play into it at all because I know that when you get it correctly, pull aside, there's really no park that can hold that in. So, I wouldn't change my game if it was any different anyway. I think it's really just important to continue to do what you do really well at the plate offensively and set yourself up for that level of success. And regardless of the park, I think, you just need to take your best swing as often as possible. So, listen, if anything, there's a lot more space in other parts of the park, which I haven't necessarily had in the past. Some balls that may have been caught in right center or right, maybe will get over their head because it's kind of a short porch. But I think the intent as a hitter still remains the same, and you want to, work to your strength as a hitter. So I think with regards to that, if you do it properly and well enough, I don't think any park will kind of keep you in. So I'm hoping that plays well for me this year.
I think a lot of Giants fans probably know that you had a pretty good run down the stretch last year in Philadelphia in some pretty big games, and your postseason success with New York. I mean, some huge moments there as well. What do you think allows you to be so comfortable in those tight spots?
I think in those, those playoff situations, all the pressure is kind of off of you because it's been such a long season up until that point, and getting through the playoffs is an accomplishment. So when you think about what it looks like to kind of seal the deal and get to a World Series and win a World Series, I think all the pressure is taken off of you individually to perform, and you really change your mindset towards what does the team need from me today, especially in big moments or big situations. If you're doing things solely for the team or, for like the playoff big at bat or big play, when you're focusing on things far bigger than your own performance, I think your game opens up tremendously, and the pressure actually alleviates and stuff starts to slow down because can be very loud, and obviously beyond the mound is most likely very talented. So shaving off all those factors and just honing in on the baseball, I think really good things happen. So, when people think that the pressure goes up, in many ways, I think we work towards, again, alleviating that. So had some success and want to do it again, obviously in these colors.
The big story, other than the newcomers, is the new manager here, Tony Vitello, and you're a Florida guy in college. He was in the SEC. Did you cross paths with him at all, or did you hear about him at all before you decided to come here?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with him. My head coach, Kevin O'Sullivan at UF, was very, very close friends with him. So as this kind of process was picking up, he got wind of it, and Sully reached out to me and obviously had the best things to say about Tony. And experiencing him now for a couple of days, I think the biggest thing that will matter the most over the course of a very long season where, inevitable ups and downs will take place, is just maintaining that energy, which he has, seems to be a very positive guy, but he's also very realistic, I think, which is also very important because we can never be too inflated one direction or the other about whatever might be happening. So I think with energy and being realistic and someone who's willing to just, stay in the trenches with you, it's very easy to play this game and everything's going well. But it's the guys who are still there when it's challenging, I think is what allows teams to move in the right direction and get themselves out of it, because those things are inevitable. So I think Tony brings a lot of energy, brings a lot of passion. He cares a lot about the game, understanding his history more and kind of how he got here. He's given a lot to baseball, and in many ways, that's what it takes. So I'm excited to work for him. I'm excited to work with him. And yeah, I just think that I think he's certainly built for the long season. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know if you know this, but Hauser and Malley are like right near the top of the guys you face the most in the big leagues. And I guess part of that was the division there. What are the challenges of those two guys when you're in the box?
Yeah, that was back too when they were, we had the old schedule. So we were playing in-division opponents far more often than we are now. So I guess it makes sense that I have as many at-bats and experience off them. I think the big thing about what they do is that they're very consistent, They're consistent in how they attack guys. I think they're workhorses. They stay healthy. For the most part, we all run into things here and there, but having the ability to put up long seasons of 30-plus starts and be able to bounce back from some stuff, I think contributes to how good a guy's work ethic is. So, when you have a pitcher who's experienced, who has a really good work ethic, who's disciplined, I think, they're going to have a lot of success. So I think they bring a good variety of stuff in terms of what they throw. And again, I think as long as they just stay healthy and they focus on what they do really well, they'll be as challenging as they were when I was in the Central on this team. So I'm excited for them.
You kind of mentioned what you tell kids in New York. I don't know that I've heard many players recently kind of be so self-aware about, and you said this on the initial call with us, there's like limited time to do this and you're going to enjoy it. How would you explain that mindset that you have of that you're just going to enjoy every moment because you know that there's only so much that you can do out there?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just playing where your feet are. I think baseball players are trained so intensely to focus in on whatever's directly in front of us, but the guys who can use past experiences kind of as like a rear view mirror, if you will, to learn from them and then, adapt and adjust for the current moment, I think will allow you to kind of have a nice blend of reminding yourself where you came from and how challenging it was to come here, but also be reassured that you do have a lot left in front of you. And I think we lose that if we look too far ahead. If you're a young player who's trying to work his way through the minor leagues, if you're a young player who doesn't know what school to go to, I think at the end of the day, baseball is so connected that you will end up in the major leagues if you belong in the major leagues. But in order for you to get there, you have to remain present. So I guess to answer your question, I just know how hard it was to get here. And furthermore, I know how hard it is to stay here. And even further than that, I know how hard it is to have success here on a continued and sustained level. So I just think using and reminding yourself of how fortunate you are, I think allows you to kind of take the present moment for what it is, which is a beautiful and just awesome thing to experience. So I try to stay in that little dome, if you will, and just keep chugging along and rack up as many wins and hopefully a ring as possible.
All right, my last thing for you, because a lot of fans have asked me this, are we going to see Bader tots in any form, or is that a thing of the past?
Yes, absolutely. So obviously my last name is Bader. So the Phillies were fantastic. I try to do as much as I can with the charities I'm involved with. So we raised a lot of money for the Christian Rivera Foundation, which is a foundation in New York City, based out of New York City, that we generate a lot of funding for a very challenging brainstem cancer in children. So I had Bader tots in Philadelphia, which was awesome. And now the playoff of my last name is not going to be like Bay, like B-A-Y, Der Tots, which plays great. So hopefully we can do something similar where we're raising money for charity through food, through like a fun playoff of, one of the Giants players. And I think it's great. I think we might maybe, thinking out loud now, maybe some like Old Bay seasoning with that, just something fun, but definitely want to integrate Bader tots in San Francisco. And I had them in Philadelphia. They were fantastic. I love tater tots, so hopefully we can bring them to the West Coast.
All right, we will find a way to do something.
Excellent.
Harrison,
Awesome.
welcome to San Francisco. Thank you for
Absolutely.
joining us.
Thank you so much.